That's right, everybody. The DFS Army's back with a little bit of rock and roll hockey slate for you coming off of the All-Star break. I just wanted to let you guys know my name is Chapadong. I happen to be a coach and a contributor at the DFS Army. DFSArmy.com is our website. You can find me there in our Slack channels for VIPs. You can find me on Twitter at Chapadong. We've had a couple of really good winners lately inside the DFS Army. If you guys are following me for the first time and you're catching me on YouTube or whatever, we had a couple of $11,000 NBA winners last night, guys, and we've had some PGA victories. We've had some good stuff working around inside the Army. It is not too late to get involved with a community of like-minded DFS players that you get to chat with in real time. You get access to coaches. You get access to tips and strategies and lineup building, construction ideas, game theory. You get all of that stuff. You can follow our podcasts at dfsarmy.com. You can follow all of our content, all of our writing, all of our articles and player picks and stuff. VIPs get total access. Of course, there's a lot of stuff out there for free, so I encourage you to check us out, dfsarmy.com. Now that I got that out of the way, let's dig in a little bit to hockey. Guys, I very much believe in the DFS Army. That's why I start that stuff off. I'm not paid to do this, at least as far as promoting it as hard as I do. I just very much enjoy the community. If we look, we don't have a lot of time today. We got a huge 14-game slate, and to be quite honest with you, there just is. I'm going to have to draw some lines in some sand somewhere and cut this thing down, or I could talk to you guys for 2 hours. We check with the Las Vegas odds first, and there aren't a lot of odds released. I choose to go to vegasinsider.com. Wherever you go is wherever you go. I like the fact that I can see where the line opened and where the consensus sits, because I can pick up on any movement. 5-point movement here, 10-point movement here. Nothing major going down in here. I can also check the over-unders, 5.5, 5.5, 5. There's really nothing too surprising or too shocking on this 14-game slate so far. We watch this throughout the day as other lines come out. What I'm looking at right now to begin with is this 275 line in Anaheim. I'm pretty sure that Gibson's going to be my goalie coming right out of the gate. I don't mess around with goalie in fantasy hockey. It's just not a smart thing to do. You can take some offbeat choices, but I personally believe you just lock in the best goalie on the slate that's most likely to get the win, and you move on from there because you can differentiate elsewhere, as you'll see as we move on. Quickly going down the list, there are a lot of teams in action tonight. Free plug, Roto Grinders. They put out a lot of great free content. I use a lot of their stuff until we create our own. But I'm closing off some of these games. I went through and I looked at over the last, say, 4 weeks, who's really humping on offense and who's kind of allowing a lot of fantasy points, and I start matching them up. And what I'm finding, Pittsburgh's always in a good spot, especially at home, even though Nashville's a little bit of a defensive team. Washington's in a good spot. The Islanders give up points. I wouldn't mind taking Islanders. Boston's in a good spot. Buffalo, this Buffalo-Montreal game pits 2 strong power plays against 2 weak penalty kills. There should be some goals scored on special teams. And since we get some bonuses on DraftKings, FanDuel, whatnot for shorthanded and power play type goals, we should probably look towards games like this when we see a great team going against another team's weakness. And this is the case for both of these teams tonight, as well as the fact Montreal is one of the better scoring teams in the league. Buffalo's been scoring points lately. Skip. This game here, St. Louis, I'm pretty much only focused on the power play here. They've got the 7th best power play, and Winnipeg has the 3rd weakest kill, so that's a positive matchup. Winnipeg offensively has been okay. St. Louis has been really bad lately. They've been getting torched. The last 4 weeks, they've given up the most fantasy points to any team in the league. And Winnipeg's been a little hot. They've scored the 3rd most fantasy points. So again, I've got Winnipeg scoring a lot of fantasy points over a significant sample size of 4 weeks, and I've got St. Louis giving them up like the lunch lady's candy. I mean, this is insane. I'm a St. Louis guy, and it's pissing me off. But the point is, we take advantage of that in DFS when we see it. This is probably my favorite game of the night. You've got 2 decent offenses, decent to very, very good offenses when it comes to scoring fantasy points, and 2 weak defenses when it comes to giving them up. This game should feature up and down, end to end, a lot of shots, a lot of events, a lot of blocked shots, a lot of just traffic, and some points. There should be some goals scored in this game. It's got a 5.5 rating from Vegas, so, it should be all right. These late games I don't like. Now, you want to pick on Arizona? Go for it. I just don't think that LA scores a ton of points. I mean, they do. Don't get me wrong. Jeff Carter, great pick. Anaheim at home. Like I said, my goalie's coming out of here. Targeting the Avalanche, good idea. So if these are the teams that you want to go for it. I'm just drawing the lines in the sand where I'm drawing the lines based on seeing good offenses go against weak defenses as best I can. Hockey's a random, high variance sport. Shit happens, and a lot of times we miss on these. It's just the way I'm going about doing it. So, take it my way, go your own way. It doesn't really matter. So if we narrow down these offenses and we start kicking down into looking for value plays, because if I take John Gibson or Jeff Gibson, whatever the hell his name is, Gibson's the goalie for Anaheim, and I'm not versed with all the foreign names and all the first names and all that stuff yet. But the point is, we take him as our chalk goalie. We're going to need some value somewhere else. So I go all the way down, sort by salary in the skater stats, go all the way down to one of the last pages so I can find the minimum price guys, and I start looking for guys over the last 4 weeks that have been producing. We look at almost 3 points per game out of a $3,000 salary guy in Stephen Johns, and you got yourself a winner, potentially. 2.8, 2.5. These are all guys that I wouldn't mind taking as one-offs as long as they're playing, as long as they make the starting lineup, which we'll see here in a little bit. I'm going to scroll up slowly. I'll look for Kevin Miller. These are guys that I'm just looking to punt and plug and play. A lot of times I like doing it with a defense. We'll see if we can't find some cheaper guys here. I don't see any green, but anything. 0.6 is the ratio on DraftKings that you're looking for. I don't play enough FanDuel yet. But when you're looking at, say, a $3,000 guy, 2 points is 2/3, 0.67. That's great. So in these cheap guys, anything over 2, 2.5, closer to 3 is awesome. If you can count on it. If he's a steady Eddie type of player, he's a great punt play. He doesn't cost you much. He's great for cash games. Would I use him in tournaments? Probably not. Not unless I'm looking to. He has a ceiling that can just knock it out of the park, because in tournaments we're looking to basically find the nuts at every position if we can, and floor be damned. We're just trying to roster the best guy we can find. And we also stack. I don't stack much. So when it comes to cash. So what I would probably do is take 2 skaters off of either side of this game, since I think this game's going to be the better game of the night. And then I'll probably take one-offs the rest of the way and try not to stack it up too hard and just hope for the best. Because on a big slate like this, we're just not going to be able to miss anywhere. And I don't care if you stack or if you don't stack or what. If you miss somewhere, you're probably toast. Again, digging into the numbers, we're just looking for some green. There was a 2.94, right? 2.64. May look into him. Who knows? I'm trying to find the green stuff, which is over 3 points. I'm trying to find as cheaply as I can. Well, there's a 3. Orlov got a little hot before the break. Not bad. Burakovsky's a great cheap pick at 4K. Russell's not bad. These are guys that when I get into building my lineups, I'm going to be taking closer looks at. And I might take 1 or 2 of these cheaper guys so that I can start getting into some of these other guys. For cash, I kind of like a balanced construction. I'm not going to be taking a ton of super, super expensive guys. I typically try to stay between about 5 and 7K when I can. But I still, with expensive goalies, $8,000, $9,000 goalies, I have to take some of those 3,500, 4K punts. If I do 4 to 4,500, I'm going to have to probably take 2 of those punts to lower my average salary so I can get up into the 5 to 6 range. If I take a 3K punt, I can usually do it with just 1 guy. So that Stephen Johns is not a bad play. There's a couple of others down there. Stephen Johns is a little inconsistent, whatever. Anyway, diving in a little bit more because we're about halfway through. I want to see, let's jump in here to good old DraftKings and let's start punching some numbers. Since we found a little bit of what we want to do, we might want to double check some of these lines. What did I say? Dallas and Toronto, Dallas and Toronto, Dallas and Toronto, Dallas and Toronto. I don't even have any contrarian stuff popping off the top of my head for you today. But I'm going to try and stay on the top lines where I can. Maybe dip into the second line a little bit. If I'm going to build a cash lineup, I may take, I don't know if I'll go quite for Bozak. I do like Van Riemsdyk. He's expensive, but I may come down here for Nylander. They're on the power play, on separate lines. I would probably prefer Kadri with Van Riemsdyk because we've got both power play 2 units and I've got exposure to 2 different lines. You'll hear me talk about that a lot. Down here on Dallas, probably I could do Ben and Eakin. I could do, Ben and Spezza and get some diversity among these lines so that when the goals happen, I'm catching pieces of the goals. That's cash. For GPPs, I'm just loading up the first line or loading up the second line because when a goal gets scored, I want both assists if I can get them. It's not a problem to throw a defenseman in there with him. There's Stephen Johns right there. So if we jump over here to the NHL, and jump down to the 14-game slate. Sort off by entry fee. Grab one of these little 2-player. You can see I've already got a lineup in. And there it is. If I want to create a new lineup, so pause it, go back, look at it. I don't know if I'll change it or not. I might not. No real secret there. It's just a cash lineup. May work, may not work. So while we're waiting for this to load, which I apologize, I should have had this called up ahead because it's just cutting into the amount of time that we have. The first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to go by goalie and I'm going to grab Gibson. I know there are other guys that are in there, but with a minus 275 favorite, unless another huge 200 or better favorite emerges, I'm not going to go anywhere else. Now I'm going to go in and target the game that I like, which is Toronto and Dallas, and I'm going to select all, and now I'm going to start picking and choosing who I want. Let's say, remember Johns, let's say we take Steven Johns out of Dallas. Our average salary just jumped to $5,500. We can work with that. I mean, it jumped $300. So we can definitely work with that if we decide to go that route. But what did I say? I said Kadri and Van Riemsdyk. So if I go there and then jump over into the Dallas side of things and look at my starting lineups, I'm checking the lines on the pages. What did I say? Ben and Spezza, probably a little expensive. Spezza's fine. I could do Tyler Seguin. I don't remember how to pronounce his name exactly. I could do Patrick Eaves too on the 1. Let's do Eaves and Spezza. I know it sounds a little bit random. You'll see where I'm going with this in a second. There's Spezza. There's Eaves. Now, if I want, I can check, and I can make sure that they're scoring about a 0.6. 3 into 5, 3 points into 5K isn't terrible. If I check his consistency in his game log, there's a 0.5, which is bad, but the rest, he's getting me some points. 9, there's a couple zeros and a 1, whatever. So he's a little bit up and down, but not terrible. If I check Spezza and look for the same, almost 3 out of 4,900. Okay, we're close. I'd rather see a little bit of a ceiling out of this guy to balance out 5.5, or some ultra consistency, 5.5, 5.5, 2, 0, 0, 2.5, 5, 3. Nah, it's okay. It's not the worst thing. Not without spending a bunch of time and really picking these guys apart. That's kind of where I'm going. And then for one-offs, what did I say we like? We like Pittsburgh. Let's see who we can't grab out of Pittsburgh. Maybe we run down to the defenseman and grab Schultz. He's one of my favorites. Come on, scroll up. Grab Mr. Schultz. That's 4,600. Need to start looking for some value. You know, I go to Washington, and I know that well, Kuznetsov is a good one. Jason Williams is a good one, but I need to get under the 4,600 if I can. Burakovsky for 4,000. Watch his totals. 4 points on average over his last 10 games. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. That's excellent. So when I go here, 6.5, 7.5, 3.5. If I look at his last 4 games, he's 3.5, 6, 6.5, 3.5. Dude's on fire. Great value pick. Good high-powered offense in a decent spot tonight. So now my average is back up to 4,900. So I can round out with another defenseman if I go into not Nashville. What did I say? Boston's not a bad one. I love Patrice Bergeron where I can find him. What's that leave me? 3,200. I'd have to punt again. So Bergeron comes out. So you just do that. Just play around. Find one that you like. Don't overstack a game. You know, and just take some one-offs everywhere else. This pretty much wraps up how I go about doing these things. I mean, follow my directions, strike out on your own, whatever you got to do. It doesn't really matter. The bottom line is that you have fun with this, that you throw in a few lines, that you try to stick to the top couple of scoring lines in a game that you like. Say you like the Blues power play unit. Like I mentioned, they're going up against a weaker kill. So maybe you take the guys off the 1. You take Stastny and Steen or, you know, Shattenkirk off the 1 and you stack them up. And if they get a power play goal, you get a big piece of it. Choice is yours. Have fun with it. Mix it up. 14-game slate. Don't expect too much out of yourself tonight. And, you know, just rock and roll. Let me know how you did. Tag me on Twitter. Hit me up in Slack. Let me know how you did. Not that you used my stuff, but how you did, because together as a community, we can all learn together. All right, guys, this is Chapadong from the DFS Army. I am out for today.